Welcome to our next video in our series on Java Basics. We're going to cover two topics right now. It is assignment operators and order operations. So hopefully you've seen previous couple videos where we talk about the basics of setting up a Java program. We should understand how to build a class and a main method. We've been working with print statements. We're going to move away from print statements right now to talk about more about variables. So you should have been introduced to variables before this video. First thing I want to talk about is the act of assignment. So quick review, with variables we can say something like int x equals 5, and what we're communicating to Java here is we're saying make me a place in memory. We need to specify a type. In this case it's int. It's going to be a whole number, positive, negative, or 0. It's going to have a name, or what we call an identifier. In this case my name is x, and we're going to give it a value. And that's the basics of a variable. We are storing this in memory so that later if I wanted to, maybe I'm going to make another variable called y, I could refer to x just by its name. I could say, hey y, you are going to be 3 times x, and we should expect that y would have the value of 15 here. Couple things, we can break up the act of creating a variable into two parts. I can say int z, and this would be considered assignment. I definitely got that wrong. This would be declaration. And then later, if I wanted to put a value in there, we could say that z is 42. And this would be considered assignment. To do both of them at the same time is you are just both declaring and assigning a variable. The declaration says, hey Java, make me a place in memory. It's only going to hold ints. Its name will be z. I don't have anything for you yet, but just get that ready. The assignment says, okay, you remember that place, that bucket that I told you to set aside? You named it z. Go put a 42 in that. So assignment means giving a value to a variable. What we want to talk about here is a number of shortcuts. This act of manipulating variables is going to happen so frequently that Java provided us a few shortcuts. So what are the assignment shortcuts? Well, let's talk about that. So assignment shortcuts is what we want. It happens so frequently that I will say, hey x, whatever you were, would you add 13 to that number? And if I executed this code, we would expect it to have the value of 18. It said it was 5, add to that 13, and you're going to get 18. Well, that's great, except it's a little bit wordy. We do it so frequently, they gave us a nice shortcut. What we can do is called plus equals. The way the plus equals works is it says whatever you were, add 13. And as you can imagine, there are 5 different assignment shortcuts, one for each of our basic arithmetic operators. So you've got x plus equals 13. I can say minus equals 27. I can say x times equals 5. I'm just picking random numbers. X divides equals 2. X, and then here's the crazy one, mod equals, for something exciting, 10. And all each of these are doing is they're saying whatever you were, perform this operation by this amount, and that'll be your new value. So if I were to track this, x is 5, add to it 13. After this, it's going to be 18. All right, subtract, let's pick something more humane. Let's subtract 7. Now it's going to be 11. Times it by 5. That's going to be 55. Divide that by 2. Let's recall we do weird integer division. If I'm doing math with an int, I must be provided an answer that's an int. I'm not allowed to use decimals, which is what we should get here. So 55 divided by 2, I guess, is 27.5. So we just get 27. We drop that decimal. And when we say x mod equals 10, what I'm saying is how many 10s go in, and once you've taken all the 10s out, tell me what the remainder is. The answer would be 7. Let's check. Let's see if we got this right. We're going to print the answer to the screen. X. Let's see if I made any goofs. Huzzah! 7. All right. How about that? Go math. So these are the assignment operators. There's a couple others called the incrementer and the decrementer. All right, so the incrementer is when you say x plus plus. This is shorthand for, hey, x, whatever you were, plus 1, or x plus equals 1. All 3 of these commands do the exact same thing. They say, whatever you were, add 1. It's so common that they gave us this shorthand that we want to add something by 1. Similarly, there's a lot of times we want to subtract by 1. So you could do something like x minus minus, which again is the same as x equals x minus 1, or to borrow our shorthand from just above, x minus equals 1. Again, all these are the same. So those are the incrementer and the decrementer and the assignment shortcuts. The next thing I want to bring up is that it can be tricky to evaluate expressions because the order of operations in programming resembles the same as the order of operations in math, but with some variations. So in math, what do we use? We use PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Okay, that's all well and good. But I'll tell you right now, there is no expression, there's no symbol, I should say, in Java for exponents. So I'm going to take out the E, and then you might be thinking to yourself, oh, we got this new operation here, modulus, where does it go? It's at the same speed as multiplication. So it's considered, I think, a multiplicative operator. So it happens at the same speed as the M and the M. So what are some examples of expressions that we could use our new order of operations, which I'm just going to type out right here just because I think it's useful. So P is parentheses, and M is modulus, and M is multiplication, and D is division, and A is addition, and S is subtraction. Now, over the course of this class, we're going to be adding quite a bit to this. There's more exciting things we can do, and I'm actually going to add something to this chart today, but don't worry about that for the moment. So let's say I want to do something like, hey, int y, let's set you to the value 2 times 3 plus 5. Well, this particular expression isn't affected by order of operations because the multiplication has the higher precedence. It comes ahead of addition and subtraction. So if I went to print out y, we should see the value 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 5 is 11. Let's see if we got that right. We did. If I were to change this so that it became 2 times the quantity 3 plus 5, compile that and run that, it's no longer 11, it's going to be 16. And that's because we've communicated to Java, hey, perform the addition first, then please perform the multiplication. One note about Java, they don't allow just a value up against a parentheses. It's a rule that they have. You'll see it won't compile. We have to put the operation in. So we have to spell out its multiplication. Unlike in your math class, you'd be able to just put it right in front. So quick note there. Okay. Something else that we should look at, what if y were set to, how about 10 mod 3 times 2? Well, don't get hung up on the fact that I wrote modulus higher up on the list. Remember, all three of the multiplicative operations happen at the same time, so you just go from left to right evaluating them. Same with addition and subtraction, they happen simultaneously. Once you're at this tier of the order of operations, then they all happen simultaneously. So 10 mod 3, 3 goes in 3 times with a remainder of 1. So 10 mod 3 should evaluate to 1, and then 1 times 2 should be 2. So let's see if we got the answer of 2. Bingo. All right, we're good to go there. And then last one I'm going to give us a chance to evaluate is 2 times the quantity 17 mod 5 minus 3. Okay, so we're using 3 different operations here, multiplication, modulus, and subtraction. Who comes first? Well, multiplication and modulus do, but I see that the modulus is inside the parentheses, so it has to go first. 17 mod 5, 5 goes in 3 times with a remainder of 2, so we would expect this to evaluate to 2. Then the multiplication has to happen. Oh, don't do that. All right. Then the multiplication has to happen. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. Let's test this one, and it's 1, and away it goes. So the one thing I would want to add to this list is very last, we would say, the assignment operator. So when I'm reviewing an entire statement, I have to hammer out all the math first. Once the math is done, then I'm allowed to observe the assignment operator and give it to my variable. I would not want to like assign the 2 and then do the math. That wouldn't make any sense. So this order of operations really is about evaluating the whole expression. And you will see us add to this in the next few videos and in the looping unit. Okay, that's what I've got for now.